One. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from teaching college level communication courses to thousands of adult learners to mastering the art of coaching through transformative problem solving techniques, we got a great show for you guys today. So let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life: prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Boss! Get ready for an inspiring episode that delves into the transformative world of leadership education and effective communication. Our guest is a remarkable individual who has leveraged his background in communications, practical sales, and management training to become a world-class coach and consultant. As the founder of a personal and professional development company, he operates on the principles of service, education, and communication tools. With a formula that blends assessment, strategy, and accountability, he empowers individuals and organizations to achieve their goals and professional growth. So let's get ready to welcome to the show, Mr. Jeffrey Klubeck. Hi, Jeffrey. Welcome to the program, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. I got to tell you, just props right off the bat. What a wonderfully well put together set of introduction stuff that you do. This is not my first podcast interview, but wow, are you having fun and doing it right, man? Props to you.
Appreciate you, man. You're episode 1,258. If I didn't learn something in that time, probably shouldn't be doing it, right? So appreciate the props. Anyways, let's just jump into this, dude. First question I always ask has to do with the number one reason why people come on the show. It's because they're promoting something that they're doing, some message that they want to get out into the public, something that they do for a living that brings the bacon and puts the food on the table. So what is that for you?
Man, there's a couple of ways I can approach that. At a conceptual level, I want to make accountability non-threatening, right? What would happen imagine if accountability was non-threatening instead of just being a word that somebody used when they're accusing somebody else of not having it? What if we willed ourselves into it, right? Like parenting or driving, everybody else sucks, but I'm great, right? And so the Trojan horse that I have for this endeavor is called The Integrity Game. So thanks for asking. This is a book that I wrote and came out with last year. And it's a parable. It's a very easy to digest story about a season ticket holder who's there to see his son who just made it to the big league squad, but he runs into an uninspired hot dog vendor that we can all relate to a little bit. By the end of this book, the guy's not slinging dogs anymore. And it's about integrity and structural integrity and how do we, like a building bridge or tunnel, right? It'll collapse under pressure tests without structural integrity. So I believe that individuals, teams, and cultures will as well. So how do we retrofit ourselves? And I create a 10-point model. And if we treat them as questions and answer the questions, we'll have resilience, we'll have focus, and we'll know what we want to be held accountable to. So that's a lot. That's a mouthful to open up. But yeah, I want to make accountability non-threatening, and we're playing the integrity game.
All right. So obviously we're not targeting season ticket holders or hot dog vendors, but there's a specific person that I think would best fit as the audience for your book or for any of the material that you're putting out there. Who is that?
Well, growth seekers for sure. But I mean, that's a tough question because I've delivered the keynote to high school seniors. I've delivered it to CEOs in Vistage peer advisory groups. And everything in between: coaches, solopreneurs, micro business owners, entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. Because the model is really how should I say? It's agnostic from an industry perspective, et cetera. So anybody that would be interested in bettering themselves, anybody that would be interested in picking up a personal professional growth book or attending a seminar, a course, or getting a class, just to get better, right? And then, of course, I'm thinking a lot about HR professionals and management level workers, supervisors, managers, directors. If you're a great individual producer and then you get promoted because you created the most widgets, now you got to supervise all of your friends that you went bowling with last week And so how do we make accountability non-threatening? Like there's so many applications to grease the skids or pave the runway for non-threatening accountability. So who needs more account? I do, right? I want more integrity in my life. So I wrote this book, and now it's got some legs and we're putting it out there in the world.
At the end of the day, you're right. Everybody needs their own personal accountability. I mean, I told you before the show, you got a live studio audience of 30 plus high school seniors here. They're going to graduate and they're going to decide to go do something with life, right? And oftentimes it's whatever their parents told them is that next path. Now, I was born in the 80s. I come from a generation where we're supposed to go to college, get a job, and kind of go that path. But today, things have drastically changed. You know, the cost to get an education is way more than it was when I was going to San Diego State at the time. And so that option is not always the best option for them to kind of go and figure it out per se. What was your educational journey like? And what are you seeing today as you talk to more and more people? The Vistage Group has a bunch of great people that are involved in there. You get to kind of interact with people. What are you seeing as kind of a pathway for today? What was your educational journey like?
Wow, there's a lot there. My educational journey was real. You know, like my first semester of college, I had 2 jobs here in San Diego, one on campus, and I was telemarketing at night, raising money for alumni associations at different schools, like, you know, the auto dialer, you know, 3-hour shifts, like, hello, I'm calling on behalf of, and remember your time in college and please donate to the university. And right. So we were hired guns. But I also had a job as an audio video technician on campus. That was really cool because it exposed me to a lot of different courses. Right. So I was fun at cocktail parties. I knew a little bit about a lot, but I was also going home every other weekend to deliver pizzas and get my laundry done and then come back. So my car would break down in Irvine or something. And my dad would have to come get me at 1:30 in the morning. And I didn't know, like, I got to be at school in class at 8 a.m. So it was rough, growing up. In school, I'm self-made, right? But I attended and survived 18 consecutive semesters at San Diego State. I got my footing. I got financial aid that helped. Of course, there was debt later on, and that's part of real world stuff. If you wanted that college education and you have to take out loans, you're going to have to be ready to manage that and get a financial education as well. But I didn't know what I wanted to do at the end of my bachelor's, so I stayed and got a master's. and I got some teaching experience, and things started to come together for me a little bit. But education is different now. For me, personally, I couldn't afford textbooks. Right. So I was like hanging on every word the professor said, taking furious notes, going to the library and asking, pulling the copy of the book off the shelf in the library and putting it back, or going to office hours, knocking on the door and sitting down and talking to the professor and saying, hey, look, I don't have money for textbooks. What do I need to pay attention to? How am I going to pass this test? What's really critical? And that was me. Right. So I'm paying like 100% undivided attention to every word my professor says to have a chance of doing what's different now. To answer the question is, I'll say something in classroom 150 times and still not see it show up in their work. The attention span, the Instagram, the phones. And now I remember the first time I was teaching and I wanted to bust a student to be like, hey, what are you doing on your phone? Because I don't want to teach for compliance, but I want them to pay attention because I want them to do well. And the guy did show the phone right. He's like, I'm taking notes onto my PDF. I'm like, oh man, right? So technology is evolving and changing the attention span, the tools of teaching. There's a lot to be said about the social media and the instant gratification and the deterioration of attention span. I see a lot of that in the classroom, so it's really important to have the vulnerability, at that front of the room, to have comedy at the front of the room, to, for me, it's like, I see every class as almost like a performance, like I want them thinking, what's Klubeck going to do next? That's why I really appreciated what you guys, the high energy, the fast pace, the speed, the restaurant quality production level of your intro, that's what you need for engagement, for attention, like pop, 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 pop. So there's a difference between that and what it was like when I was going to school. And we need to be engaging. We need to be immediately gratifying. We need to be vulnerable. We need to be real. We need to be audience or student centered rather than, in my opinion, I might get in trouble if I say this, but rather than administration and politics and department centered and textbook and publishing company centered, I need to be student centered. That's just my approach. That's my flavor. I could read you this interesting email I got from a student like yesterday morning. He says, I want to change my speaking to, I teach public speaking now at San Diego State. He says, I want to change my topic. My topic sucked before. And now I want to talk about what I really want to talk about, which is why I hate you. I hate you because you care too much. I hate you because you care about us. I hate you because you're not letting us off the hook. I hate you because I hate you because I hate why we need more professors like you, Klubeck. And that's where I need, that's my lane. That's where I need to be, is I need to make sure, like, I have a theory that you know, and again, my boss wouldn't be happy with me saying this, and lifelong educators wouldn't necessarily be, and administrators and the compliance and the limit liability and all the, I don't have to worry about that. I'm lecturer, I'm part-time, right? Those are their concerns, and they're better off for it because they're better equipped to deal with those things than I am. But they may not be happy with me saying this, but I'm going to say it. In today's day, I don't know if students need teachers, but I know they need coaches. I know they need mentors. I know they need leaders. Right. I don't know if I need to teach your students anything except why the hell they're here. You know, I need to get them engaged in what they're doing, and then they'll go teach themselves because everything's at our fingertips. So if I could puppeteer an experience where I believe in you and I got you really clear about why you're even here at all and what's in it for you to be here and pay attention, now I just get out of your way and just shape the path, and you'll go learn with and from each other. So I really focus on the engagement piece. And I think you've asked, you know, a really big question. I hope I've given you some good answers.
No, you definitely have. And as an educator, I struggle with the same stuff, man. I mean, literally, I have you in the classroom, and I can already know as soon as I turn my back, I got half the kids on their phones distracted anyways, right? Like, that's just part of the gig that kind of happens in a classroom. And trying to keep that engagement is really difficult to do. And the more I've been at this, I mean, I've been teaching a little over a decade now, and just in that time span, I feel like the attention span has gone smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's definitely a challenge. Let me ask you about entrepreneurship. I mean, you wrote a book, you jumped into this stuff, you've had multiple jobs, you're in education. Why entrepreneurship? Why step into that space?
Either you want the funny answer, or I mean, the funny answer is I'm unemployable, bro. No, I mean, the funny answer is I'm a little too honest. You know, the funny answer is you know, or when maybe I'd be better at it now, with a little more length in the tooth, a little less hair on the top of the head. Nothing grows on a busy street, by the way, bro. And my point is that, you know, earlier in my career, I had a salary job at JP Morgan Chase. And I was honest when I saw all the out of integrities and the passing of the bucks and the crap rolling downhill, and the blame game and the politics and the stuff that goes on in corporate. I'd be too honest about it. I don't, you know, my wife, you know, thank God opposites attract. My wife's got the disposition to be corporate all day long. She's been corporate. She can play that game really, really, really well. I used to say I'm a little too honest for the corporate environment. I'd rather be a hired gun, come in as an independent consultant, you know, do my training, do my half day, do my full day, do my one-on-ones with various people, and then bail, rather than live in that culture. I also, you know, I'm plagued by the blessing of having so many ideas and being so interested in so many things. There's a fear of commitment to one institution when I feel like I have more of a ubiquitous vibe and energy and messaging to get out. So I like the diversity. I like the fast pace. I like the variety. Don't want to feel trapped or limited. There's some pros and cons that go with that, because, you know, there's ups and downs with having your own businesses and being entrepreneurial. And sometimes you're winning, and sometimes you're winning big, and sometimes you don't know where the next dollar is coming from. And you know, that keeps me on my toes and keeps me sharp. And I'm hungry. I still have so much more I want to do. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, no, you definitely are. But and I'm gonna push back a little bit, because on the one hand, that could be one of the greatest traits of an entrepreneur. You're that visionary. You see a path. You gather a team. You point them in that direction, and you know, gung ho, go for it. On the flip side, I'm betting you make a lot of mistakes too, because you're jumping from one thing to another. Shiny syndrome.
Shiny
Right?
object syndrome. Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't get that out of my mouth, right? You've made some mistakes here and there. What are some of those bigger mistakes you've made that have kind of taught you, guided you, made you a better entrepreneur?
Well, yeah, you know, another great question, man. There's a couple of ways to answer this. Okay. On the one hand, I haven't made any mistakes because there's no such thing. As long as we're willing to learn, there's no such thing as a mistake. There's just learning wrapped in a little discomfort. So I've been blessed with an ability, whether it's courage or stupidity. I brave the discomfort. So in other words, every mistake I make is I fall in love. That's the thing that's made the difference for me. Is early in my career, I'll tell you a story. One time, it was 2010, and I'm like, hey man, I need to market myself. I need to get out there regularly. I want to do a conference call once a month, and I'll call it the Get a Clue conference call series. Right? I came up with 12 topics that so the last Thursday of every month. And and this is back in conference call days, like *6 to mute yourself. Do you remember those days? Okay.
Oh yeah, I
Like
remember those.
1-800-conferencecall.com, and now Zoom's taken over and everything. Right. So I remember calling a good, and if you don't mind me giving a shout out to an instrumental person in my career, Brian Trachel. He's easy to find, and anyway, amazing guy. And I called him. I remember I was on my way home from a client appointment. I'm on my way, and I call him. I'm like, Brian, are you going to be on at 4:00? He's like, yeah, bro, wouldn't miss it. And I said, listen, I want you're going to be great. You're going to be great. He's giving me all this support, right? I said, no, stop it. I want you to listen for the 3 biggest mistakes I make. On the January edition, the first one. I'm like, please listen I'm going to call you as soon as I'm done, and I want you to tell me the 3 biggest mistakes I make. He's like, no, you're going to be great, man. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. I'm like, no, I want to know what they are so I don't make them again in February. So there was a shift where any nerves I was feeling, I turned it, flipped it on its head, and I leaned into it. And I just accepted that I'm going to make mistakes, but I don't see them as mistakes. I see them as learning wrapped in a little discomfort. So the willingness to be vulnerable is powerful, and the greatest luxury in life is to be yourself. And there's a lot of people out there in the world that are pretending. There's facade, and there's posturing, and there's smoke and mirror. Whether it's I could come up with other examples, but the idea, I've made several mistakes. One time, I got an opportunity to introduce a mentor of mine. Shout out to Brian Tracy here in San Diego, Brian Tracy International. He's been all over the world, spoken to millions of people, tons of audio programs and books. And he's forgotten more about the whole game than I've ever learned. And I got the opportunity to be on his team when he was VP of Education for iLearning Global. And one day they called me and they said, Jeff, Brian's speaking tonight at one of the local hotels. Can you open for him? And it was like, want. Early in my, like, what? I'm going to open for Brian Tracy? Well, the mistake I made was shoot everything. I thought it was all about me and my opportunity and my break and my thing. And I was all into my 45 minutes. And I was like, I'm going to make my mark. I'm going to pee on the fire hydrant. I'm going to establish myself in this world. And and then I deal with the whole thing, and it was great. And then I'm like, and a man who needs no introduction, Brian Tracy. And I brought him up, and that was like a huge mistake because I forgot he deserved the introduction. He's blazed the trail. He's a mentor. And even if every single person in that room knew exactly who he was, it was incumbent on me to go ahead and voice the 2-paragraph intro. You follow? So I got so self-involved, I forgot why I was really there, which was about the audience rather than myself. And I could go. So, and Brian was gracious in the way that he let me know about it a couple of days later. Very gracious in the way that he let me know about it a couple of days later. But that's, I could talk to you all day long about mistakes I've made. It's like one of my favorite conversations because I really you see me smiling and looking back fondly. It's just a little bit of discomfort. It's not really a mistake. It's more of a mistake to try to avoid making them.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't learn. We don't win anything we don't learn anything when we win. We learn when we lose.
That's absolutely true. Those losses are the ones that they're the scars that you wear, but at the same time, those are the best lessons. You had a great speech. It was a great occasion. You probably did a really good job making people laugh, and yeah, it didn't accomplish the goal that you were actually supposed to do. And honestly, you probably would have never known about it if he didn't humbly come back and let you know, hey, yo, I think you kind of messed that one up for a little bit. And that's also, part of making the mistake is also being willing to accept the critiques that come in from the other side as well, because oftentimes they're not really pooping on you. They're just telling you to kind of help you improve, to put you in a better place. And those people are there to definitely help you up. So let me ask you, let me kind of use that as a reference or a nice little transition here.
Yeah.
So if you're going to use those experiences to kind of give advice to young people today, what advice would you give them to kind of give them that foot forward as they go into this next world, as we go into a world that has World War III, massive inflation and but also at the same time massive opportunity? What advice would you give them?
Wow. Be coachable. To put it succinctly. In other words, I would put it a different way. The people that want to help you are not judging you. The only people judging you are the ones that would rather do that than help themselves. So, first of all, what other people think of you is none of your damn business. Okay, what you think of yourself is everything. Okay, that's number one. Number two, most successful people are more than happy to help. So if we can just understand, it doesn't feel good. Anything can provoke our automatic defensive reactions. We have to understand that we are hardwired to protect ourselves, not just physically, fight or flight response, right? If I'm knocking on doors because I'm getting people to sign up for the newspaper on a subscription to earn my educational trip to Yosemite, and I open up the gate and there's a Doberman pinscher right there, I'm immediately going to start yelling and barking and backing away and making a bunch of noise in case I get bit and somebody can come and grab. Like, I start doing all this crazy stuff because the sense of physical danger, right? If I hear a buzz by my ear, I'm going to immediately swat and duck. I'm not going to think, I hear a buzz by my ear. What should I do about that? Should I Google how to protect myself from a bee sting? Okay. But what I want the young people to know is that could be a fly. And if we swat and duck at a non-threat, we're taking ourselves away from opportunity. So when somebody that's more successful than you comes along and wants to offer advice, first of all, I have my own feelings about advice. I never offer advice. I offer suggestions, right? I'm very careful about advice because then you get into legal and, well, they told me to do this and I screwed it up, so they're culpable or whatever. No, let's talk about the suggestions. Let's talk about the possibilities. Among your possibilities, what choice do you want to make? So I don't want to give advice because then they don't have 100% ownership in it. I'd rather help them see choices and let them get 100% owning of what the decisions that they're going to make, right? So never mind the advice versus suggestions and leadership versus management, that whole conversation, right? But the idea is that we have to understand that ego defense is automatic emotional fight or flight response. So I've seen a lot of people where this happens a lot, where somebody wants to help, and instead of immediately lengthening the fuse, right, to see it as help and as a resource and as an opportunity, our natural desire to protect ourselves. Yeah, but I was only trying to, but I didn't mean to. And we start defending and explaining away the past rather than staying invested in our future. So we have to lengthen our fuse. We have to be careful who we're talking to. We never want to take advice from anybody that's not doing as well or better than we are, right? And then we also don't even want to ask for advice because sometimes the back to the power of words and communication, the vibration of language. If I'm advising you, right, that takes some of your 100% responsibility out of it, right? But if I'm supporting you with an ability to see all of the possibilities, and then you tell me what your choice is, now it's easy to hold you accountable to your choice rather than the resistance I'm going to experience if you feel pressed upon, if you feel told to do something that you don't know how to do, you're not comfortable doing, you're afraid of making mistakes and all that other stuff, right? But keep in mind, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, or the old guy, Mr. Rogers, the old TV show.
Rogers, yeah.
He said, "Look for helpers, man. Look for helpers. Don't look for the haters. Look for the helpers."
Yeah, he always made things so simple to understand, and I know it was a kid show and all, but that stuff is relevant today. I think more relevant today than it ever has been. Even though, again, that was like in the '80s growing up.
Things cycle.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Let me ask you about your Vistage stuff. So I've had the privilege of doing video testimonials for a lot of Vistage chairs, and oftentimes they talk about the people that they bring on. They're not just bringing anybody on to be a speaker. They're bringing on some of these experts because they have a specific knowledge base that they know. One of my buddies, Steve Haru here, well, he's all over the place, but he was here in San Diego for a while. He's one of those people that gets called up by different Vistage chairs to go speak to.
And I know Steve.
Right. Exactly. I figured as a San Diego Aztec fan,
Yeah, well, I gave a shout out to Brian Trachel earlier, who introduced Steve and I. But continue.
Okay, perfect. Well, Steve's awesome at his Sales Collective course, doing his sales DNA. And so my question to you was, when you get brought on as a public speaker, when you get brought on to these vicious things, there's something that you're really good at, something that you stand out above the rest. What is that? Why is it that they select you to be a speaker versus others?
It's a good question. I think, my formula is motivation plus accountability equals results, right? So because of what we talked about earlier, the attention span in the classroom and getting people past the fear, I taught public speaking for 20 years, right? So I'm a fear fighter, right? When you want to make accountability non-threatening, when you want to increase soft skills, when you want to get people's guard down, lengthen their fuse, help them be coachable, I've got jovial, energetic, engaging, entertaining ways to disarm people. So I use my public speaking skills, my 20 plus years in the classroom of getting, learners past the fear of public speaking to be able to finish what they started and not drop out of the course because of they're afraid of state fright, whatever. So I connect with people, I get them past their fears, I keep it real, I keep it fun, I keep it entertaining. There's a lot of things that I'm doing that, there's so many other people in the world doing. I'm not the only coach, I'm not the only trainer, I'm not the only consultant, I'm not the only speaker, I'm not the only author. But because I can do all of those things, I provide a nice menu. And because I'm good on my feet, I'm good in the front of the room, I'm good at engaging people in my content. I'm good at analogy, I'm good at metaphor, I'm good at storytelling. I'm an empath. I feel the room when I'm in the room. I've got 20 years of experience. There's not a lot of coaches that have 20 years experience in the college level classroom. And if they do they have experience teaching public speaking, getting people past the fear? Right, on and on. So these are a couple of things that separate me: my timing, my energy, my empathy, my vulnerability. I'll wear it on my sleeve. These are some of the things that why people would choose me instead of others. And then with the integrity game, it's a new approach to, I haven't heard anybody with that brand promise yet. Like, hey, I will help you make accountability non-threatening. And I bet you the Vistage, the members, not the chairs, amazing chairs, right? It's an amazing thing. One of my clients, Jim Rastucha, I interviewed him yesterday on my All-Star sessions. He is the first Vistage chair to create a new group in San Diego in well over 5 years after like 11 people failed before him. To chair, you have to recruit your own members and build a trust. And it's an amazing leadership endeavor to get people to commit to become members of Vistage and pay that fee and be committed to the group and on and on. And it's an incredible journey to ramp up to build a group. And I was fortunate. He said, Jeff, I'm at 6. I got to get to 8 to build the group. We're having a meeting. I got 2 prospects. Will you come on and deliver the integrity game? And the reason I bring this up is because the integrity game and my brand promise to make accountability non-threatening, when they sit in their hot seats and when they get ready to do their peer advisory, all of the CEOs or business owners, they say, all right, hey, here's my issue. And then everybody asks their clarifying questions and they say, well, is this the issue then? Or is this the issue? And then they say, all right, well, here's a round of input and on the way that the mastermind in the hot seat format works. I could argue that lack of accountability is the answer to everybody's issue. I bet I could watch 100 CEOs sit in a chair, 100 business owners describe whatever problem they think they're having. And I bet once you peel enough layers of the onion, it's communication, soft skill, and accountability that's the real issue. What's the accountability structure? Who reports to who? What are the KPIs? When are the performance reviews conducted? What support do people have on the way to meeting those KPIs? When is this reviewed? Where's the oversight? It's an accountability. And so accountability can be a pain in the butt. It could be, it may seem non-revenue producing in the moment. Do you follow? How do you bottom line accountability? Like HR has this problem. Like, how do you justify the ROI on human resources activities other than compliance and keeping them out of lawsuits? But the cost per hire, the water cooler talk, the employee engagement, the absenteeism. How do you measure all of this? You follow? So I just believe, why would people hire me? What is it about me? I'm an accountability guy. I'm a soft skill guy. I'm a communication guy. I'm a bit of a jackass in my joviality and my fast-paced energy, right? I don't take myself too seriously, but I take the need for this world to have non-threatening accountability very seriously.
And at the end of the day, it will drive whatever industry you're in. If you have people that have that kind of internal accountability, they're not afraid to express it with other people and put it in a comfortable environment where the fear is gone, then that's one less thing, one major hurdle that almost any company culture can get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, the world is their oyster at that point. Jeff, dude, time has flown by, my friend.
Sure.
Like a lot of energy that's coming from you. It's not very often that I get it mirrored back to me. So that's super cool that you're able to do that. Appreciate it. Made the time fly by. If people want to reach out to you, they want to get a copy of your book, they want to find out more about their own accountability or within their organizations to get that fear to go away, what can they do?
Yeah, well, I'm very easy to find. LinkedIn is a great place to get, Jeff Klubeck or the Integrity Game. I'm still on Facebook. That's my generation. I'm 51 years old, so we got into Facebook, haven't gotten out yet. Maybe one day I'll be a recovering Facebookaholic. But anyway, LinkedIn is the best professional place. You type in the Integrity Game, get the book. If people email me, jeff@getaclue.net, and request a copy, I can send out PDF copies of the Integrity Game. It's a 135-page, easy, digestible read. I'm growing, I'm scaling, but I still answer my own communications. So any of the email or any social media platform where you connect with me in DM, and anybody that mentions your show, of course, I'll try to give as much value as I can for free and make sure people are digesting the content.
Appreciate you taking the time, ladies and gentlemen. One more time, website at the bottom is Get a Clue, and it's KLU. So getaclue.net, getaclue.net. You can find them on social as well at Get a Clue, or shoot Jeff an email if you want a copy of that PDF, Jeff@getaclue.net. Jeff, thank you very much for coming on the program today. Really appreciate you taking the time. Very engaging conversation. Appreciate you, man. It clearly shows you've been spending at least 20 years in the communication, public speaking. So thank you very much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz